Discussion keeps the world turning.
This is Roundtable.
You're listening to Roundtable. I'm Steve Hatherley, today with Yushun and Fei Fei. Coming up, April 23rd is World Book Day, and this week on Roundtable, we're taking part in the celebration. Today, we're launching a special 5-part series featuring acclaimed Chinese writers, each sharing a book that changed their perspective. Today will be part 1. After that, once a week we see a story in the news that gets us all in our feels, for better or worse, and we share our feels with you. This week, citizens of Shenzhen complained to city officials about a couple of different issues where they wanted to see changes. The city said, "Nope, sorry. Deal with it." Fei Fei will break it down in this week's Soapbox. Our podcast listeners can find us at Roundtable China on Apple Podcasts, and don't forget that we love to hear from you too, so you can send your voice notes our way. Roundtablepodcast at QQ.com. Once again, Roundtablepodcast at QQ.com. And now, April 23rd is a special day because it is World Book Day. It's a global celebration of stories, ideas, and the power of reading. First championed by UNESCO, this year the spirit of the day stretches even further, with China turning it into a week-long celebration of books and readers. Here at Roundtable, we're taking part 2. We're featuring 5 acclaimed Chinese writers, each sharing a book that holds special meaning for them, be it one that they've written themselves or one that has deeply influenced their perspective. This segment is presented in collaboration with Apple Podcasts, and we'd love to hear from you too. So what's a book that's been on your mind lately? Share your recommendations and explore more from Roundtable China on Apple Podcasts. Supported by the International Liaison Department of the China Writers Association, this special series connects readers and writers across cultures. Now, let's turn the page and hear about today's author and the book that they've chosen to share.
Yes, so today we feature the Chinese writer called Qi Jinnian. She's a really young writer from China. She writes both fiction and nonfiction in Chinese. And I think most of our listeners probably have heard about her novels, such as The iPhone Age, in Chinese, 无梦之境, or The Ember of Time, 平生欢. Also, back in 2007, is actually what I've read about her before, is when she published her first book, Bed is the Tomb of Youth, 被窝是青春的坟墓. It's a collection of both short stories and essays from her about growth and youth, and she published this book at the age of 16.
Goodness me.
Yeah, so she's been writing for a really long time.
It's amazing.
And recently she started to write and also translated all of other books. For example, she translated Foster, a short story by Irish author Claire Keegan, and also she started to write non-fictions. For example, a book she decided to share with us today, and it's a recent non-fiction from her, from Qi Jinnian, about traveling. Let's check it out.
大家好，我是齐景年。这几年花了大量时间在横断山脉穿行。
Hello everyone, I'm Qi Jinnian. Over the past few years, I've spent a lot of time traversing the Hengduan Mountains, hiking, climbing, and walking long distances. These rich experiences have all been captured in the book, Wandering the Hengduan Mountains.
因为《横断浪图》这本书，它也许不仅是关于旅行和风景的一个记载，更多的是在路上和同伴的对话和探讨。
For this book, it is not just a record of travel and scenery. More importantly, it's about being on the road, the conversations and exchanges with companions. When you share the same landscape with someone else, it can inspire entirely different thoughts and interpretations. I find these moments of collision truly valuable because they cannot be replicated. With different weather, different perspective, every moment and every journey offers a very unique landscape.
如果说《横断浪图》这本书能让我有什么一个特别的核心词的话，我想应该是多样性这个词。
If I had to use one core word for wandering the Hengduan Mountains, it would be diversity. It does not only refer to biodiversity, but also the diversity in ways of living. 3 years ago, I was like many of you, spending most of my time in the city. But it wasn't until I walked into the mountains and wilderness and experienced that sense of openness and freedom that I realized, beyond our daily orderly routines, there exists something wilder, something unstable, like a pendulum, yet capable of offering intensely vivid experiences.
所以对我来说，生活最理想的状态是有一种钟摆。
So for me, the ideal state of life is like a pendulum, moving back and forth between the steadiness of writing and the expansiveness of travel. It feels in a way like a futile art, but also a deeply fulfilling way of living. Thank you.
So that is the book Qi Jinnian decided to recommend to us and also to our listeners, called Hengduan Mountains in Chinese, which is Wandering the Hengduan Mountains.
Where is that, by the way?
The Hengduan Mountains is a vast mountain system in the southwestern part of China that it forms the longest, widest, and most typical sort of north to south mountain range in China. It covers provinces and regions such as Sichuan, also Yunnan, also Xizang. So the reason it's called Hengduan, literally meaning cutting across. It's a mountain system that sort of drops directly from the Qinghai-Xizang plateau right into a sort of more lower altitude and flatter regions in Sichuan and also Yunnan as well. And also, so because of this very dynamic geological feature of this mountain system, it offers a very diverse when it comes to biodiversity. You can see a lot of different plants and animals living on different altitudes, and also at the same time has a lot of parallel mountain chains and deep valleys. And also you can see three big rivers in China, the Yangtze River, the Lancang River, which also later became the Mekong in Southeastern Asia, and also the Nu River, which becomes Salween River in India, that they sort of run side by side for hundreds of kilometers. So it's a vast and very beautiful places to travel, and also can be very challenging as well.
Yeah, and what really defines this region is its dramatic terrain, because at the top stands Mount Gongga, the highest peak in the range at 7,556 meters. And also nearby, the Tiger Leaping Gorge, I think in Chinese it's called Hu Tiao Xia. Along the Jingsha River is one of the most famous canyons in the world. And the mountains are also dotted with basins and also lakes. But they are geologically active as well. The landslides, mud flows, and earthquakes are relatively common, as this is one of China's major seismic zones.
Qi Jinnian,
Yes.
author of the book Wandering the Hengduan Mountains, where she wandered for 3 years.
It's the place she's born in.
Wow.
Yeah, in Sichuan province, sorry.
She wrote and published her first work at the age of 16. At 20, she had already completed her first novel, and she has been recognized over and over again for her works. That book, by the way, Wandering the Hengduan Mountains, went on to receive recognition in 2023. That was with the Daofeng Book Award for Annual Travel Literature. And then later in 2025, it was honored with another award, the Essay Award at the 11th Sichuan Literature Prize. An impressive human. Not just a great author, but just an impressive human being.
And also on an impressive mountain system in the world, the Hengduan Mountains as well.
Unbelievable. Please do check out that book. This segment was presented in collaboration with Apple Podcasts, and we would love to hear from you too. So, what's a book that's been on your mind recently? You can share that with us, roundtablepodcast@qq.com. Share your recommendations and explore more from Roundtable China China on Apple Podcasts.
What are the things they say?
Hear ye. Please gather round. It's time for the Soapbox.
You're listening to Roundtable. I'm Steve, today with Yushun and Fei Fei, and it is time for this week's edition of the Soapbox. It's our segment where we find something that happened somewhere in the world, and it makes us feel something, good or bad. We identify those feelings with our company therapist, and then we share them with you in a structured and organized fashion. Just kidding about the company therapist, although sometimes I feel like we need one. And they may feel like they need one in Shenzhen because there's a bit of controversy happening down there between the cities and the city and the citizens.
Yeah, recently there are actually two stories happening in the same city. Well, I think they can be sort of very similar in the theme. For example, the first one is about the Shenzhen Bay Park. It's a big urban park in Shenzhen, and they recently received a lot of complaints coming from residents about insufficient lighting at nighttime. So instead of, installing more lights from the park authorities, the park explained that the reduced illumination was a deliberate science-based policy to protect migrant birds. So this is why they said no to their residents.
So the residents are complaining, like when they go to hang out in the park, go jogging or dancing or whatever it is they're doing, that it's too dark.
Yes.
In there. That's a reasonable complaint, I guess, because safety issues, maybe, or
that's true.
You just want to feel comfortable at night in well-lit places. But this is all about migratory birds.
Yeah, because Shenzhen Bay Park, apart from being an urban park, it also sits on the East Asian Australasian Flyway. It's one of the 9 major global migratory bird routes. So every winter, tens of thousands of birds would stop here during their epic journeys from East Asia or between East Asia and Australia. And so artificial lights would disrupt their resting and migration rhythms. So that's why actually in the year 2023, Shenzhen decided to implement a very strict nighttime light environment standards, meaning that they would only provide basic lighting at very crucial places like core entrances, transport nodes, or main walkways. But for areas that's crucial for these birds, they will be kept dark or softly illuminated with very warm and low disturbance yellow lighting.
Oh, so it's all about making it comfortable for the birds,
but a little inconvenience for humans.
At the cost of the comfort for the humans. Okay, that was the first story. By the way, that Shenzhen nighttime light policy, is that all over the city, you mean, or is that just within the park area?
Within the park area. It's also because of the mangroves, by the coast, the city that enjoys.
Okay, so that was the first one. What else happened in Shenzhen?
The second story is also about birds. It's actually from a middle school called Baoan Middle School in the city of Shenzhen. A senior student, he is preparing for the Gaokao, the very high-stakes college entrance exams in China. And he complained to his principal about a different kind of disruption. It's about the chirping of crows. It's a protected black birds with bright eyes that's very common in that region, and the sounds can reach 80 decibels, which can be a little bit abstract for us to understand. So I also have this clip of the bird chirping called the crow. So you can see.
That sounds beautiful to
Yeah,
me.
actually. But maybe for a senior student, high school student, under a lot of pressure preparing for the exams.
Hold on. Ron, can we play that again if it's possible? Because I want to put myself in the shoes of this young man. Okay, I'm trying to study. Gaokao's coming. Feel stressed. Shut up, bird! Okay, I get it. I get it. So he complained. He complained to what? Have the bird removed?
He complained. He wrote a letter to his school principal describing that it is a torture to hear "quote unquote" this noise, and asked the school to remove the bird's nest. So he calls it the free spirits can fly back to nature, but also at the same time he can prepare for his exam in silence.
What?
In another story, that's the background music of Snow White waking up.
Like that exact bird?
Yeah. How beautiful that can be.
It's
but
kind of amazing that you know that. But what did the principal say?
Well, the principal, of course, refused, but he wrote back to the student and he wrote, I understand your urgency, but I cannot agree to remove the bird's nest, not because I lack sympathy, but because I hope you can understand that the ultimate goal of education is not to make the world adapt to us, but to teach us how to live with it.
Ooh, the principal saw a teaching moment and took advantage.
And also to a higher notch that he invited university researchers to give science lessons about birds, to teach students to understand, you can't just, remove their homes as simple as that.
He also gave earplugs to the student, right?
Yeah, and also installed alternative nesting sites that's sort of luring the birds away, but instead of just physically remove their nests.
The principal built alternative birds' nests.
Yeah, not bird's nest, building an alternative nesting sites to attract birds to build their new nest at those areas.
Okay, so these two stories had Fei Fei feeling a certain kind of way. You ready to share?
Yes, and here is my soapbox. We've grown used to a world that functions like a nap, customized, frictionless, and then perfectly tuned to our convenience. And then here's when a dark park becomes a problem and a bird's song become a noise. And for decades, we've been smoothing out these kind of edges of the natural world, paving over anything that doesn't serve us, and convinced this is the progress that we want. But in reality, we aren't the only ones who need the night or the space to sing. And this could be a hard lesson for us to learn that coexistence requires restraint. The night is supposed to be dark, and the world is supposed to have sounds. So for us, that feels like an inconvenience. But maybe the problem is on us. We've lived in these controlled, curated environments for so long that anything unfiltered feels wrong. We expect silence, order, predictability, as if the planet itself should adapt to our preferences. But nature was never designed for our comfort. It isn't a backdrop. It isn't a setting that we can mute or adjust. It's alive, it's indifferent, and it doesn't owe us a quiet or light or ease. So here is a question that I want to end my soapbox with, is for us to think over, have we become too fragile to live in this nature?
So you agree with the park that told the citizens,
deal with the darkness.
Too bad. These birds need this place. It's part of their global, almost, migration.
Yeah.
And you agree with the principal that said, sorry, here's your headphones. I'll try to build a place for the bird to go, but I can't guarantee it. And you need to learn to accept this.
I 100% support them.
Yushun?
I think I'm also on the side of supporting it. The habitat of these animals, or the way that people live with, or use the word coexist with the world, I think is finding that kind of balance. And now I think it makes so much more sense that I went to a park that I thought that was out of maintenance. The lights was so dimming.
You would think that, wouldn't you?
It's a dangerous
right?
place.
Or the city's trying to cut back on electricity at night, maybe save a little money there, sure.
But now I feel so much more comforted, and maybe it's not like mainly because of that, but that is a good thing for the birds. Then I think, yeah, why not?
And also, I would give another example when it comes to mosquito bites. You can think about, when you're stepping into a very woody area with a lot of trees and grasses, you get a lot of mosquito bites. And it's also very natural for people to complain about this kind of mosquito bites. But also, it is how nature works. You step into the wild, you will be bitten.
I mean, I was with you up until now.
Me too.
Right? I think you lost me there a little bit. It's still a city park. It's still a place that was constructed for the comfort of human beings that live in that neighborhood. It's not like this park was in the middle of the Amazon jungle.
No. But you will get bitten by mosquitoes. And I think that can be a more extreme example when it comes to the inconvenience that I want to point it out, is that when you try to coexist with nature, it will be inconvenient and it will be very uncomfortable from time to time. And there are ways for us to deal with it. When it comes to the mosquito bites, there are different repellent that we can use on our body, and there are different technologies to lure away these mosquitoes. This doesn't necessarily mean that we need to kill them all. So that's the point.
Well, I don't think the murder of thousands of birds was the solution offered by the citizens. They just wanted some brighter lights.
But yeah, when you install some of the brighter lights, that means the results for these birds can be devastating.
Yes.
You never know.
Well, what about the student then?
Well, the students, I think it's natural for him. We've all been through this Gaokao procedure. We know how stressful that can be. But it's also how you deal with stress.
He can move.
Yeah, you can put on earplugs.
Just go to a different room in the school. What's your problem?
Close the window.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I'll be wrapping the show now. That'll do it for... That's going to do it. Today's round... I'm Steve. Shut up, bird! And that will do it for today's roundtable. I am Steve with Fei Fei and Yushun. We thank you very much for being with us today. We hope you enjoyed the show. We did. Have a great one, and please do join us again next time.